So we start our day together here in Victoria, named of course after our 19th century queen, and so the theme of this area is royalty, and it's here in Victoria that Buckingham Palace is situated. Indeed, the road we're about to cross is Buckingham Palace Road, so it's not very far away. I'm sure many of you have Buckingham Palace high up on it. They have houses all over the world, don't they? This just happens to be their London home. Now, this particular street is leading us down to the very heart of Belgravia. Another square with another garden in the middle, and this will be Belgrave Square. You'll notice a lot of national flags flying in this square because a lot of the houses here are now given over to either embassies or the residences for ambassadors. Now, this particular square was built in the 1840s. And during that decade, I can tell you that Queen Victoria rented one of the houses. Like the look of you, they just don't open the door. But, you know, if you were to flash your credit card through the window, I'm sure you'll be quite surprised at how quickly the doors come flying open then. But don't let me put you off shopping around here. It's actually a great place to come and wander around, and there are some fantastic department stores as well. The first of which is now coming up on our left-hand side. This is Harvey Nichols, always has very interesting window displays. And Harvey Nichols made famous really by Princess Diana. That was her favourite store, and she was often to be seen in there, accompanied by her bodyguards, of course. She lived in this district for many years, in Kensington Palace. We think of her there really after she had been separated from Prince Charles. That was her London home then. But even more famous than Harvey Nichols is the department store. It'll also be on our left-hand side. An amazing building covered in this brown terracotta tiling, and this is, of course, I'm sure you know already, the store of Harrods. Recently sold by Mohammed Al Fayed to the royal family of Qatar. But it's a big destination for many visitors coming to London. I'm sure many of you plan to go there if you haven't done so already. It's open from 10 in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening, Monday till Saturday. If anyone is planning a trip to Harrods, I do, just before we come to South Kensington, or to the main part of it, just have a look at this church on our right-hand side of the white stone building. It always looks to me like a little piece of Italy has been dropped into London here. This is a well-known church. It's the Brompton Oratory, one of the premier Roman Catholic churches in the capital here. Now we come to the education, culture and learning. Here on our right-hand side is the very well-known Victoria and Albert Museum, or V&A as we call it for short here. A magnificent museum of fine and applied art, and you can see anything in there from the writing desk of King Henry VII right up to platform shoes designed by one of our top current designers, Dame Vivienne Westwood. And there is so much more to be seen in between. A very fine art collection, for instance, with some dinosaur. There's a good view. That's the main entrance there to the right. Now, the wonderful thing about our national museums, certainly, and indeed many of our museums, as well as art galleries, is that they are all completely free to go into. No entrances to pay at all. You don't have to book ahead, you can just turn up. Normally there's not even a line to join, you just walk straight in. So it really is a case of world-class collections here in London for absolutely nothing. And there is one man that we need to thank for that wonderful fact, and he is, or was, Prince Albert. He was married to Queen Victoria in the 19th century, and they'd had in the past, and laid out, as I say, on a grid system. And so we like to think of it really as almost a kind of medieval Manhattan, a very sort of definite grid pattern to the town. So this makes the town of Salisbury particularly see the area over to our right, people doing some gardening there. These are what we call allotments. It's basically land owned by the local council, on the left here as well now. And they rent little parcels of land to local residents who possibly don't have any gardens or don't have large gardens, and local people just use them for mainly growing vegetables. But you rent your little plot of land from the council very, very cheaply, sometimes for, you know, £1 per month, something like that. It's just you know, a nice way of using land that otherwise would just be left, you know. So they are allotments. You see those occasionally now. There used to be a lot more of them, of course, these days with land prices being so high. You know, a lot of councils have taken them back and have built housing on them or sold the land off. But it's rather nice, you know, when you do see them and the local people using them in some of them. So there's a good overview of the cathedral over there to our right. As you can see, there is a little bit of scaffolding, which is, means it's being repaired and cleaned up generally. They're actually going all the way around the cathedral, so you'll see towards the front of the cathedral when we walk down the sort of bit that they've done already, and you could compare with that with you know, a part that they haven't yet worked on. Upon those original foundations, even though the cathedral is in the city centre of Salisbury, it is still in a sense sort of very separate from the city. And I'm sure you'll feel that when we walk through St Anne's Gate, one of the three entrances into the cathedral close, you'll feel the difference between, you know, the street on the city and the sort of feel inside. So here are part of the walls that surround the cathedral close here on our left, and a completely different atmosphere. That's what I was trying to say. As we walk through the gate, we are immediately faced with you know, complete peace and calm. It's quite astonishing, really. So despite that little bit of congestion back there, we've made generally a very good time on our trip from London. So we'll be getting off the bus very shortly. Now Tony will be dropping us off at St Anne's Gate.
meet you by the entrance to the school then. Yeah.
No, that tree, this tree. No, I want. Then it's that tree.
बारिश आ गई यार
Looking at a skyscraper, I suppose, for the first time. The reason it could go so high was a lot of new technology had come over from France. Technology which included the flying buttresses, which took a lot of the stress away from the walls, which meant the building could go higher. Taking the stress away from the walls also meant you can include a lot more glass. Okay, so the idea of a building like this, the light could just come flooding in, whereas the churches of the previous era had been, much smaller and much darker as well. It would have looked very different to how we see it. In fact, all of that amazing frontage outside would have been completely.
Sì, è vero. C'è la comunità che scende giù. Sì, poi
ragazzi dicono che quell'orologio lì sia Paola, quell'orologio che stiamo vedendo io i contrappesi, le cose, è il più antico orologio del mondo che funziona, capito? Questo è il più antico orologio del mondo che funziona. Sì, è del 1300.
quindi va bene.
옛날 만들 때 모습이에요.
Eravamo in macchina gente Ja, kommt im ersten Bereich der West. Im Jahre 1220 wurde begonnen, 1225 war dieser Bereich
Sure, you take a photo.
Finding some news research already आदि
पागल की तरफ फुट निकलता मैं यहाँ पे आता तो
It is, of course, one of our ancient monuments in this country. Now, at the cathedral, we were looking at history going back. Oh, my mathematics isn't my brilliant point, I have to say 900 years, I think, isn't it? So we're looking at 900 years of history at Salisbury. At Stonehenge, we will be looking at 5,000 years of history, because Stonehenge, well, the first phase of it was begun quite precisely 3,000 years BC. Now, the first phase was, as you can imagine, the simplest phase. It was in fact just a round, well, a circular ditch. And the ancient workmen, once they dug the soil out, and indeed the chalk, because it's on a chalk plateau, they used that to form an embankment around the circle. And they then buried their tools within the embankment. And it's the discovery of these tools that has enabled us to rectangular block shapes that we see them in now. So they were all worked before they were put into the ground. And it is the only stone circle we have where lintel stones were placed upon the upright stones. Now, all those lintel stones, if you can imagine looking at it from the air, would originally have formed a perfect circle. Two of you, didn't have your entrances. It's 6 of you, group of 4 and a group of 2, and you're deciding whether to, pay for the entrances or not. So if you are going to go into the site, what I will ask you to do is get off the bus first, then you can just make your way to the ticketing area. I know some of you have bought your own entrances for the site, so that includes you.
You gotta put everything like
against like holding one.
your feet won't get flat.
Okay. This bottom, this foot just rise up. This one? Yeah, you're gonna get it up higher.
Thank God for blood.
Of Salisbury Plain is in fact owned by our Ministry of Defence, and they use it for training purposes. And I mention that to you because as we drive oh, there is a cricket match going on today. More interesting than looking at a bit of lawn, isn't it? So there's the cricket match going on. Bath's not particularly renowned for its cricket club, but I'm sure they're very good. But do prepare yourselves for that famous view. I hope those buses just ahead of us going the other way. They're obviously doing the same, slowing down for the view. But this is the famous, it will be, the famous Pulteney Bridge across to our right there. You see that these shops going across it, and that was put there in 1770. The architect, very famous, I haven't mentioned his name yet, he is the great Robert Adam, he's the architect of that bridge. And where we see the river there, it's where the river meets with the Kennet and Avon Canal. Right, so we have 1.5 hours here in Bath, so by the time, well it's just 3:15 now, so our departure time will be, let me get this right, 4:45. 4:45, so 15 minutes before 5 o'clock will be our departure time. And let's just see if there's a space for us to stop. Yes, that's great. So here we are at the back of the Abbey. So this is where the bus will come to pick us up. Tony will bring the bus, about 10 minutes or so before 4:45, so that we can start boarding and be ready to move away at 4:45. So 4:45 is the departure time. Okay folks, so if you'd like to follow me off the bus, we'll just gather at the back of the Abbey there, and once we're all together I'll walk you around to the
इंडियन कजिन फोटो निकालू
घर है
जम्मू ना इंडियन कजिन ये मूव ऑल थ्री गाइस 3 idiots
माझी बघ अजून संपली नाही तरी 3 मॅट्रा बसतात 2 मॅट्रा
With tokens? Yeah.
MasterCard too.
How much
But
is it?
we're supposed to go outside.
Tokens? Individual group, there is a queue outside.
एक साथ जितना भी बोलते हैं ना सभी
the last one for my group. The last one.
Can't put this in English or
यहाँ से निकलते हैं LCD बंद करो